Hi,
Hi, welcome to the OUTCASTED podcast, episode 2.
we're here again.
Again. And we're going to be talking about today our personal LGBTQ plus experiences. So
Now,
strap in.
I don't know how you want to start this off, but I was thinking maybe just explaining what we are and
Okay.
then diving into our own experiences. So maybe like positive experiences and negative experiences. And maybe even like maybe dive into some relationship things we've done or something. Or maybe we could talk about pride as well.
Yeah.
We could talk about a lot in this episode.
There's much to talk about, so I'll start off.
You dive
I
in.
am pansexual.
Oh.
So to me, that is it does not matter to me what gender you are or what you identify as. If I fall in love with you, it's because of your personality.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's it. And you?
Okay. Well, you see, mine could be seen as a lot of things with depending on how the person thinks. So I am gay. I'm a gay male. However, to me, it doesn't matter whether the person is like trans in any way or whether they are a cis male. Because I mean, if they're male, they're male to me.
Yeah.
Where some people might think, okay, well, you're pansexual then. Well, no, I'm not,
No,
because
because you don't like women.
exactly, yeah. For me, a man is a man. Do you know what I mean? Like a trans man is a man, so I'm going to date a man because
Yeah.
I'm gay. and
And
that's
like, if I date someone, like, no matter what pronouns they want to go by or who they identify as, that's fine with me. Like, it does not matter to me. If I'm in love with you, it's because of your personality.
yeah, you see, I'm the exact same, but obviously with a
With
man.
men. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we could take this conversation now in any kind of way, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what way you want to take it in.
So I'll start off, if you're okay with sharing, would you mind sharing like your coming out story?
Oh yeah. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll start with family first, and then I'll go through like my friends as well, like my friendship group at the time when I came out. So with my family, it was very much. Oh wait, no. You tell you what, it'll probably be easier if I talk about my friends first because they knew before my family.
Yeah.
So like, in school, I went to a Catholic school.
So fun.
So as I was coming out, I think it was like year 8 or year 9. I had just come out of a relationship with a Portuguese girl.
Bless her.
And
I know
that,
how it feels to be in a relationship with you. I feel sorry for her.
excuse you. See, the difference is you're married to me, so you have to stay with me by my side for the rest of my life.
I don't have a choice.
She got a lucky escape. No, I just come out of a relationship with a Portuguese girl. She went to the same school as me, and she was a lovely girl. Do not get me wrong, but I think it was one of them things where wrong place, wrong time. You know,
Yeah.
I was figuring out myself at the time as well. I was still quite young, and I think before I got into that relationship with this girl, I already knew.
Yeah.
And I knew from a young age there were signs like no, I won't go into it, but there was like certain characters and like things I would watch, and I think and they were like male characters, male presenting characters, and I was like I just wondered. I always wondered, why do I like them so much, and why don't I like the female characters?
Yeah.
Well, now I know why.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming out to my friends was surprisingly to me, like I thought it wasn't going to go down well because when I was coming out, I feel like I tortured myself because I'd watch all these YouTube videos about coming out stories and how they went bad,
I
rather
did the
than
same thing.
like good coming out stories. So I was watching all these bad ones, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm going to be thrown out my house. It's going to be awful." But it was nothing like that at all. Especially with my friends, it was more. They were just like, "Okay, and like, let's go have lunch. I want to go get my pasta pot." Like, it was very much that with my friends, and like, I couldn't thank them more. I mean, I'm not friends with them now, but like at the time, I think is definitely what I needed.
It was a big deal at the time, so
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
definitely see that. And your
And
family?
so I first came out to my mum because I mean, for a bit of background, I didn't grow up with like a dad or whatever. So it was my mum, and I didn't have the confidence to tell my mum face to face and have that conversation with her. And I just remember really wanting to tell her, but I just couldn't face it. Like I couldn't sit down with her and tell her. So one night I remember messaging one of my friends saying, I really want to tell my mum that I'm gay. And they were like, okay, well, why don't you sit down and have a conversation with her? And I was like, I can't. I literally can't. Like, it's not, I physically could not do it. I couldn't start that conversation, nothing. So I managed to write up a message to my friend that I was going to send to my mum. And it basically said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that I'm gay. I love you. Good night.
Oh.
Because obviously with all these videos I'm watching of bad coming outs and whatever.
Yeah.
Thinking about it now, it's actually quite sad.
It breaks my heart a little bit.
Because like you sat there, I was like 13, 14 years old. I was watching these YouTube videos on on YouTube obviously. And it was just like what if that happens to me?
Oh, bless you. You would have been shitting yourself and all.
It was awful. But luckily it didn't happen that way. As soon as my mum read the text, she like texted me back saying, I'm pretty sure she texted back saying, "Are you sure?" To make like, and at that point, I was like, "Oh my god, she hates me. Oh my god, I'm gonna get kicked out." Oh my god.
Bless you.
She came upstairs then, and at the time, me and my brother shared a room, and my brother obviously didn't know. So I was just led down in my bed, and I was pretending to be asleep.
As you did.
Yeah. She came into the room. She'd led next to me. She gave me a hug from behind as I was pretending to be asleep. And she said, I'll always remember this to the day I die. She literally came into my bed. She cuddled me from behind, and she basically whispered into my ear, "No matter who you are, I will always love you."
Oh, stop it! You're making us emotional. That is so sweet.
And then she left, and I just remember trying so hard not to like burst out crying. Like obviously, I was pretending to be asleep. But I remember like lying there the entire night, and I just couldn't sleep because of like all that was going through my mind is what she said.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think it's because I was building up the courage, and I was building up the, okay, well, you know, if she doesn't accept me, then it's okay because, you know, I've built myself up now, you know, like I'm prepared for her like to not accept me, but like she couldn't have been more loving than anything. And I am so glad that I had that experience, because if I didn't, I really do not know where I would be today if I had a bad experience. Because
Callum actually teared up at that. That's so sweet. Bless her.
But then obviously once I told my mum, it kind of got easier to tell like the rest of my family, because I knew the one person that I cared about the most.
Your mum's got your back.
Exactly, yeah. So like the rest of my family, I did not care what they thought. The main person I was worried about is my mum, obviously, because I see her every day, and she's my mum.
Yeah. It's so sweet.
So obviously that happened, and then I remember she told my granddad, and for about a year, right? This is when I was like 14, maybe 13. I think I was 14 going 15, or maybe just turned 4. I don't know. But it was at some point during then. But every time I called my granddad, it was so weird at the time, but looking back, it was actually so sweet because he was trying.
Oh.
And it was a thing of like, he'd say, like, well done for figuring yourself out or something like that. Like,
Oh, bless
it
her.
would be like every single phone call that I'd have with him, and it was like I felt really awkward.
Yeah,
I can
I can
remember it.
see that, but I can also
But
see his side. Like he was trying, bless him.
yeah, he was definitely trying. And then I remember when my brother found out, and then like, well, I can't remember what his reaction was. It was probably something like classic brotherhood, like, oh, gay boy or whatever, like, you know.
Yeah,
But that's just brotherhood. But I do remember this one time where we was at a family meal, and you know, as you do in a family meal, they'll talk about, oh, have you got a girlfriend yet or whatever.
yeah,
They asked my brother first, and then he was, you know, talking about it, and then I remember just after he'd finished, like, talking his piece or whatever, he turned around. I think I was like just turning 15, and this was at like a huge like family party or family meal, whatever you want to call it.
mm.
And he turned around and he said to basically my entire family, "Oh, you're going to ask Callum?" As a kind of way of like, "Oh, you
He
don't
had
know
your
he's
back.
gay." And I was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh wait, no, he didn't know.
No, he knew.
Oh, so
Like,
he like kind of had your back, like saying
no,
like, "Oh, ask him."
no, not really. It was more of a thing
Oh,
of like, "Oh, you don't know Callum's gay, so I'm gonna make it awkward for him by saying,
oh,
you know,
right,
why don't you ask Callum?" Because then it kind of brings that question of like, why is he saying that like that?
right, okay,
So
I get
then
it.
at that point, I was like, no, I don't have a girlfriend. And he was like, yeah, you don't have a girlfriend, but you might have a boyfriend.
That,
And I literally remember the exact moment that happened, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm sat here right now at a family meal, and this is happening. Like, I'm sat here dreading their
yeah,
reaction because like they're like very Welshy, so I just like they from like the valleys, let's say. So I just didn't know
I
how
don't,
they would react.
I don't really know what that means. Does that mean like they're very stuck in their ways?
Well, there's for my family, anyways. I've got basically two separate families, I would say, but like they're very close.
Right.
One side of the family is very like conservative,
Mm,
and you know, with their conservative values or whatever, they will always be like, you know, conservative in that kind of way. But the other half of the family, you know, they are from like, let's say, like the working class kind of folk.
right.
So they don't really care. They're just like, okay, well, and let's go get a Greg's, like, you know, that kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
But at this meal, it was very mixed. So I didn't know how everyone was going to react. But then I remember sitting there then with one of my, I think she's one of my cousins, I think, yeah. But she's like kind of like my mum's age.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember my mum and her sat there with me then and was just telling me stories of when I was younger, of when we used to go to like Porthcawl, which is kind of like it's like a better version of Barry Island. So there's
Right.
like a beach, there's a fun fair, and we'd be like sat at a restaurant there, and they just kind of like have conversations like, "Oh, do you think he's gay?" Or like, you know,
Mm.
them kind of type of, and then they just be like, "Yeah, I think," like my mum was like, "Yeah, one day I think he's going to come out to me," and
Oh.
well, here I am. And then I think, yeah, ever since then, coming out to like friends and family, it's just been, well, I haven't had to come out in ages, so it feels really nice to do that. But I do remember when I went to college, just before lockdown, so it was like 2019.
Yeah.
I was doing like basically some background. I didn't do my GCSEs. I have no GCSEs, but I'm doing uni, so woo.
Mhm.
But when I went to
She's
college,
gonna be a doctor.
oh woof woof. Yeah. um, yeah. So when I went to college, nobody knew I was gay. And I was
Yeah.
like, how, like, firstly, I'm doing a health and social course, right? So it's kind of
I've
obvious, like,
got to say, I did a health and social course at college, and even like there was a few men on my course, and I didn't. It wasn't on my mind. Like I didn't think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously
Just
not
don't
to
think
say
about
that
the
it's like,
sexuality.
not to say it's typical that a gay person will do a health and social course, but like,
Yeah.
you know, I got along with all of the girls rather than the lads that were on the course. I say lads,
Right.
well, you know,
Yes.
well, they weren't lads. They were more like, I don't know. To be fair, they kept to themselves. But like, you know, I got along with the girls, and I just thought it was like, I just always think that like the way I speak or the way I look is just like I just look gay. So I always feel like I never have to come out anymore, and it's just obvious. But
It's not, Callum.
I,
It,
well,
but I don't know if it's because I'm so like, I would never assume someone's sexuality.
yeah.
Like, a person's just a person.
Well, back then it was more,
But it
even though it
wasn't.
was like 5 years ago.
It
To
was a very
me,
different time.
it's crazy, isn't it?
Pre-COVID was a different time.
Like I do think like back then it was more like, you know, if you're not doing like this type of course in college or this type of course in college, then you're most likely doing something like health and social or like what's it called, hair and beauty or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And if you're doing one of them type of courses, then you're most likely to be gay, kind of thing. So
Right.
I just remember like I met someone in college and I got with them, and I remember walking around with him, and then someone came, like from my course, came up to me and was like, "Oh, who's this?" And I was like, "Oh, that's my boyfriend." And they were like, "What?"
Oh,
And I was like, "What do you mean? What? I'm gay? You haven't known? I've literally been on the course for 4 months, and you don't know I'm gay?" Kind of thing. Like, it was a
but
shock
did
to
you tell
me.
anyone?
I didn't think I needed
But,
to.
but yeah, that's what I mean. Like, no one's going to assume that.
Yeah. See, that's always a shock to me. The fact that like nobody, like for example, one of my very close friends, he always says to me that I don't look gay or I don't sound gay, but like he,
But what is looking gay and sounding gay?
well, that's the thing. It's like the typical things of like someone looks gay, whether they have like I don't know Botox or whatever, or whether they sound gay and they have like, you know, as straight lads would say, like the gay accent kind of thing. So you sound more feminine, I guess, or you
Nah,
act
so,
feminine in that kind of way.
yeah,
So my friend just said kind of like, you know, oh, you don't act these ways, so I wouldn't instantly assume that you are gay.
yeah.
And even then that shocked me, and that's coming from one of my closest friends. But yeah, it's just kind of like nowadays, I haven't had to come out to anyone since I was in college. So if someone if someone asked me if I was gay now, I'd be kind of like, you know, what do you mean am I gay? Of course I'm gay. Look at me.
I think
Um
that's good though. That's a sign like, yeah, so you're comfortable with who you are,
yeah, yeah,
which is
definitely.
good.
But then there's also the sides of like oh well, we'll go into that a bit later on. But enough of me. I feel like I've been talking about me for ages.
No, it was super interesting. Thanks for me
um
anyway.
I want to ask you about your coming out story and what it was like coming out to your friends, your family, and their reactions and everything. I want to know everything.
So for me, it was very different to yours.
Right.
I never really came out. I did, but so I I was engaged to a man when I was 19, and that's when I first kind of started realizing, because I'd got in a relationship so young, a straight relationship. I never
Right.
really thought about my sexuality before, and towards the end of that relationship, I was thinking like it's a bit similar to you when you were watching like people on the telly. Like, why am I so interested in the men? I was
Yeah.
really interested in the women. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, oh, maybe I'm bisexual or something, I don't know. And that was it. And then I got with someone else, another man, and I was with him for 3 years, and that was, I'll go more into detail about that in another episode, but it was a pretty traumatic relationship. And
Yeah.
it was that during that relationship that I realised that I wasn't straight.
Right.
But I
How old
didn't.
were you when this happened?
I was 20, 21, I think.
So a late bloomer.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
late. But I didn't dwell on it. I was like, maybe I'm bisexual. That was it. That was.
So you saw it as more as like a not a negative thing, but also not a positive thing.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
of the situation I was in at the time, because I was with a straight man, I didn't really want to bring that up with him. And I
Yeah.
lived with him, so I wasn't that close to my mum at the time, or like my sister or anything. And then we broke up, and then COVID happened. And during COVID, I met, who, like the other half of the friend group.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was during that time that I kind of realised, like, it solidified it, because it was lockdown and I couldn't see anyone and I couldn't date anyone, because I'd been in and out of relationships my whole adult life in my late teens. I'd never really explored it
She was
until,
kind of like with lockdown, you're in your feelings as well. Like
yeah, I had time
you're
to think.
basically like you're staring at the same four walls. You know,
Yeah,
well, I mean, with you it was different. We'll go into that kind of things with COVID and all that in another episode. But
yeah, I'd come home from a horrible day at work, and
yeah,
that would be what I would think about. I would think about, am I gay? Am I straight? Am I bi? Am I what? Like, I don't know.
yeah,
And actually, a little bit before this, before COVID, I think it was the end of 2019, my mum had come home. I still lived with my mum at this point. She'd come home from a night out, and she was telling us how one of our friends was telling her about the discrimination she faces as a bisexual woman.
yeah.
And I had said in that conversation, oh, well, I think I'm bisexual, and then this is my experience. And she didn't bat an eyelid. She didn't. She just listened to my point of view, and that was it. And then we never spoke about it again. And then lockdown happened, and then I was thinking about it and things, and I was like, oh, am I? Like, what am I? I don't know. And I started looking into different sexualities. Obviously, the Google, like bisexual, pansexual, like asexual, because that can be a bit funny with that.
Yeah.
And after a lot of research and a lot of thinking, I realised I was pansexual. Because it's never bothered me who someone identifies as. I do not care. As long as that person's happy and will love each other, that's fine with me. Like, you can be whatever you want to be. I'll still love you. So that's when I realised I was pansexual. And from that moment, from the moment I realised I was pansexual to coming out, was really quick, because I realised I was pansexual, and then a couple of months later I went to Liverpool to meet one of my old TikTok friends.
Yeah.
And then on that trip I met my ex-girlfriend. So I kind of had to come out really quickly to everyone, because I'd got with her. I didn't really have a choice.
Did you meet them through your TikTok friends, or was it you met her on a night out kind of thing?
So it was a daytime thing. We were in Wetherspoons, and I seen her walk past, and I said to my friend, I was like, oh, she's so pretty. And my friend, being my friend, who they were, we're not friends anymore, turned around and was like, oh, like, come here, like, to her. And then they ended up sitting with her, and me and her got talking, and we got each other's numbers and stuff. And then obviously once I got home, we were texting all the time, and then we ended up getting together pretty quickly. But I think it was like 2 weeks of talking, and then we decided to make it official. I'll go more into that in the relationships episode, because it's messy. It's a bit messy. But anyway, so I realised I was pansexual, and within 2 months I was in a relationship with a woman. It was a lot. So I went downstairs. I still lived with my mum, and I just said, I just want to let you know I'm pansexual. She went, what does that mean? I explained what it meant. She was like, okay. I still love you. And I was like, okay, great, sorted, fine. I didn't tell Jessie because me and Jessie weren't actually speaking at the time.
Oh, right, yeah.
But when my ex-girlfriend came up to Newcastle, she obviously knew then. She never
And
said no. Sorry.
Just for the listeners, for those who tuned into episode 1, they would know who Jessie is.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Jessie's my sister. We're very close now, but we didn't used to be.
I couldn't imagine a world where you two aren't close.
Literally. It's crazy, isn't it? But she, even when we started talking, there was no conversation about it. Like, she just immediately accepted, oh, well, that's who she is. Like, there was no conversation. She didn't care. The only thing I really remember that was significant about coming out was my dad. I'd rang my dad and I went, oh, because he didn't even know I was thinking about it. Like, he didn't know I'd kind of like said I was bisexual before I knew. And I rang him and I said, oh, Dad, I just want to let you know I'm pansexual. It means this. And he went, oh, I know. That for me, I know he was trying to help by saying that he knew. But it was a little bit of a, because
kind of like not really like ruins your coming out experience, but like it definitely like damages it a tiny bit.
I'm so glad you understand that, because like I was talking to Jessie about it, like obviously when it happened, and she didn't understand that, but it did, because how would he know?
Yeah, like I had a similar experience in school where I told a group of friends, but I specifically didn't tell one person because I didn't know how they'd react.
Mm-hmm.
And then a few days later, I found out someone had told her. So, like, you know, like I was just a bit like, oh, because like I wanted to tell her, obviously, in my own time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I can completely relate to that, because it's just like it's hard to explain, really, because like I want to say it damages like the way you come out to that person, because you want to make it like as personal with that person as you can. But if they turn around, like, you know, the best intentions are coming through, you know, they just want to make it easier for you, but like at the same time you've tried to build up all this courage to tell that person.
I do want to say I think we've got the wrong end of the stick here. So when he said I know, he meant he was kind of saying like he'd always known since I was a child.
Oh,
Nobody had told him.
I thought you meant as in like somebody told him kind of thing.
No.
Oh, okay. So
he just said I know, as if, and then he said I've always known.
Oh, right.
Which to me is it was a bit like, oh, because I didn't even know. So how could he have known?
Well, it's kind of the I guess like a judgment of character, really. Like when you meet someone, it's sort of like kind of like that first impressions thing. But
yeah,
again, that's one of your parents. Like
he raised us.
Yeah.
Right.
So
but
I can see what you mean.
But I think that was just his way of kind of like saying it's fine. Like, I don't care, because he's never. The only thing with him is when my ex-girlfriend came up to Newcastle, because we were long distance. She only came up here once before we broke up.
Yeah.
And I had texted my dad when she was up here, and I said, oh, her name is up here. Do you want to come and meet her? And he said, oh, no, not today.
Do you think that's because he was busy, or do you think there's more to that?
I think there's more to that. My dad has always been very homophobic. So I don't know if you watched Waterloo Road, like not recently, but like when it used to be out.
I didn't like follow it completely, but like if it was on, I would happily sit there and watch it. 'Cause, like, you know.
So we used to go to my dad's when I was at school. We used to go to my dad's on a Wednesday night. And we'd watch Waterloo Road. It was always on. And there was one episode where two men kissed. And his reaction was, oh, God, do I have to see that on my screen? And that's what's made us think him saying he knows that I'm gay was a panic response.
Right, okay, yeah, I see.
Yeah, and that's why he didn't want to meet me girlfriend, because he's not comfortable with it. But he's fine with me.
It might be one of them things where the person doesn't understand why, but they like. Do you feel like he's trying at least, like to understand? Obviously, without the meeting your ex kind of thing. Like
It's
obviously when you were
kind of
together.
that's kind of a different conversation, to be honest, because my dad has never really tried with me with anything.
Oh, right, okay. So it's just like one of them things of
It's
like,
just one of them, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So it's not something that overly bothers us. But that was the thing that mainly stuck out from when I did come out with me friends. I didn't even tell them. I just went, oh, I've got a girlfriend now, and they were like, oh, okay, that was it. Perfect response. That's all I
yeah.
want. Is just, oh, okay, come
Because
with
you
me
see,
now.
it's kind of like if I ever had kids and if they ever felt like they had to come out to me, I would, because I understand the whole concept of coming out because I've obviously been through it, but I'd want to make, if I had children, I'd want to make them as comfortable as possible to the
Oh
point
yeah,
where they can just bring anyone home and just be like, this is my partner.
yeah,
Because I feel like
definitely.
if I didn't make them that comfortable, then I feel like I would have like failed as a parent. But obviously, that's I think that's because that's what I wish I could have done,
Me
like
mum
for
was a bit
myself.
like that. Like, because when she was telling us the story about her friend, and I said, oh yeah, well I'm bisexual, because I did say at the time I'm bisexual, because I thought
Yeah,
I was at the time. Um,
so
and
it's a
she didn't
confusing
bat an
time, isn't
eyelid.
it?
Sorry?
It is a confusing time, isn't
It
it? Like
is.
trying to just
It,
figure out who you are.
especially after 2 long-term relationships with men,
Yeah, I can only
where I
imagine
was
how that
gonna
was
get
like.
married to one of them.
Yeah,
Um, but
and now look at you, you're married to me.
and um, so my mum always says now, like, because we'll often have a conversation about um like LGBTQ plus, and like a lot of times it falls on like trans people,
Yeah,
because she doesn't really understand trans people, and I try my best to explain it to her. But she is trying, bless her. But one of the things she always says is people shouldn't have to come out.
yeah, yeah. I completely agree.
She always says that. She says people, because when I was growing up, my mum she was a young mother. So when I was a child, she'd be like going out all the time and stuff, which is fine. I mean, I would be too. But her group of friends was the most diverse group of friends ever. They used to, like, there was men that dressed up in women's clothes. There was women that dressed up in men's clothes. Like, not dressed up, I mean, like, just wore men's clothes. But they did not care. They just
Yeah,
liked the people for themselves. And that's why she thinks, oh, nobody should have to come out. Just be who you are. People will accept you. And I had to kind of like explain that's not the case now. A lot of people are very against gay people.
they are, and especially like, well, I mean, I don't want to be stereotypical here because I mean that is quite stereotypical, but like like football lads.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't. Should we talk more about that after a break?
Yeah. Sorry.
Because I could say,
I've talked your ear off.
oh no, I've gobbed your ear off as well. I think we've gobbed well, I think we gobbed the listeners off, to be honest. They've got all the tea and they love it.
Yeah. Let's have a break.
So that was the first half of the Outcasted podcast, episode 2. Here's what we have in store for episode 3.
Well, this is embarrassing.
Maybe you are not a Eurovision wizard.
Oh, I know, I know. I didn't really get into it until 2021. So
Oh, maybe Jodie isn't the Eurovision wizard we thought she was. Here's some more.
because even that could be a little mini, like, or like one Saturday night in March.
Yeah.
There'll be a big event on BBC One where there's 3 artists competing, and one of them wins and goes to Eurovision. Like, it would get people involved, I think.
If you enjoyed that sneak peek, then make sure to tune in next week for episode 3.
Tune into Eurovision Weekly every Sunday at 7 p.m. British Summer Time. I'll see you there, and make sure to get your requests ready.
If you want to listen to the behind the scenes of this episode, this very episode, that's right, head over to our YouTube, which is OUTCASTED Explanation Point, and you can listen to the behind the scenes over there.
Make sure to follow us on x.com or twitter.com at twitter.com/outcastedpod. See you there.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hola.
We are back.
Welcome back to Outcasted.
And for the people on the streaming platforms, that was a very, very quick break because it went straight back into it.
Literally about 30 seconds.
Well, I mean, on the radio, probably about 2 minutes. On the streaming platforms, straight away. But right, where should we go from here? Because we've talked about our coming out experiences and kind of like if it affected us negatively or positively, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you want to add anything onto your coming out experience?
I don't think so. Just that I'm very thankful for my mum.
I am as well.
And my sister. Like, none of them cared. And that's what I wanted.
It's a very special experience, isn't it?
It's weird.
It is a little bit.
Like, we shouldn't have to come out at all.
It's like so wild. But what I want to ask you is, have you ever had whether it's positive or negative experience, holding a woman's hand out in public?
Not really, other than just stares. I've had a lot of people staring at me and my ex-girlfriend that holding hands. She's the only woman I've been with.
Yeah.
But yeah, just people looking up and down kind of thing. Nothing like what other people have gone through.
Yeah.
Have you?
Negatively, not like when I was holding a guy's hand, but where I used to live, I was like walking out the street kind of thing, and like I'd lived there for like 11 years, so everyone in the street knew who I was because I'd lived there for so long, and also because well, yeah, I'd lived there for so long, and like a lot of them I went to school with as well.
Yeah.
So they knew that I was, gay. But like the younger siblings would like obviously know from them that I was gay. So I would be walking out the street and sometimes I'd just get hollered at saying, the F slur or whatever. But like, it was just young kids or whatever, it's just like in my mind it was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But I've never had any bad experiences being hollered at in the street when I'm holding a guy's hand, but I've had a positive one.
Have you?
Which is really, really weird. So this goes back to like maybe when I was like 15. I'd say this is probably my first or second boyfriend, which ended in him cheating on me, which I'll go through on the relationships episode.
Yeah.
But no, the experience was we was walking to his house. We was just walking down this random street, and I was holding his hand, and this couple, this like kind of, I think they might have been in their 50s or 60s, were just driving along, and they'd stopped their car next to us. And I was a bit like, oh my God, because at the time I was really scared about being gay, and I still am when I walk the street. Sometimes I literally do feel like I'm going to be beat up.
Yeah, I feel that.
They stopped the car and they rolled down the window, and the guy he was driving, the guy said, oh, are you guys gay? And we were very hesitant to say yes, but the person I was with, he was just like, yeah. And they both of them, the man and the woman, both went, ah. And then they went, the guy went, we're proud of you, keep being who you are, and then just drove off.
Oh.
And I was a bit like, firstly, what the hell just happened? Secondly, that is the cutest thing in the world. But yeah, that's the only experience I've really had when I've been holding someone's hand, and it was positive, which is a good change because a lot of gay people or LGBTQ plus people will have a negative experience. So I think it's very rare that you have a positive experience.
I don't think I've had a positive experience before. But before I even knew I was gay, when I was at school, year 8 I really got heavily bullied.
Yeah.
And a lot of the things people would say would be because my best friend at the time was quite like she was like a tomboy.
Yeah.
Which obviously to me, I couldn't give a shit. I liked her. Like people would like shout lesbian at us and stuff, and I didn't really know what that meant.
Yeah.
Not fully. I just knew it was like I didn't know what it meant, but I knew it was bad. And I don't mean that, but at the time,
Yeah, I get what you mean.
it was like it was a negative thing.
Yeah.
And there was one day, and I will go into more bullying stuff in a different episode, but there was one day that someone came up to us and they went, "Oh, are you wanting to fight then, you Leza?" And I went, "No." And then they literally beat us up on the floor. I was lying on the floor getting beat up.
What the hell?
Because they thought I was a lesbian. But I didn't know at the time.
That is disgusting.
Yeah. But apart from being bullied at school, I don't think I've had since I've come out, I haven't really had a negative experience apart from people looking up and down.
Yeah, I'm trying to think to see if I ever have had like a negative experience like that. But the thing is, like, bullying and being called like, you know, all these slurs and whatever, especially when you're growing up and you don't even know yourself whether you are, is so common and hardly anything gets done about it.
Oh yeah, like I went to the me head of year and I told them what happened because obviously I rang me mum and I told her and she came in. Bless her, I love me mum. And we went the head of year and they basically did nothing.
Yeah, I remember when I told my head of year at the time, and I specifically told him not to tell anyone. But I was in I believe I was in English at the time. It was the same day, and I saw, you know how like an email notification comes up on our laptop.
Yeah.
Well, the English teacher had a what do you call it, projector on, and I saw the email notification, and I had my name on it.
Oh.
And I was like, what the hell? And I read there's the subject thing that you can put whatever you want on it.
Yeah.
And it said something along the lines of like, Callum has come out or something like that.
Oh.
And he sent it around to all of my teachers.
Jesus Christ.
So, I mean, it's not really a negative experience, but it's more of like, what the hell are you doing kind of experience.
I would, that.
So, as soon as I came through, this was like 5 minutes into the lesson.
That is horrendous, Callum.
I stormed out. I went straight to his room. My friend followed me. She didn't give a bloody hell at the time. She was like, you know, firstly, she wanted to see the beef. Well. Secondly, she was like, you know, this is not right. You know, you should go talk to him. So I went straight to my head of year's office. I shouted the house down boots. Like, you know, all of that. And yeah, he had a good 20 minutes of me shouting at him in his room with a class full of, I think, year 11s or sixth forms or something like that.
Well, good. That is horrible for you.
But, I mean, like, I always forget about that moment until like something where I'm proper having like a conversation about coming out and whatever. But like, I look back at that and I'm like, what the hell?
That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy.
I remember they had to call the, I think, assistant head teacher down to like, you know, take me away and like talk to me about what happened. And I was telling him what happened. And he was like, okay, well, do you want to go any further? And I was just like, no, I cannot be asked now. I just want to, it's over and done with now. Like, I've told everyone I needed to tell at that time. I'd already told my mum. I told
Right.
like my friends. I thought it would be okay for me to tell my head of year, but obviously not. But yeah, at that point, everyone had already basically knew. So it was just like, no, like, I've told everyone now it's not a big deal. Well, it was, but
I really, really feel for you, knowing, like, I feel like I'm quite lucky that I didn't know till I was an adult, because
you see, I would
having to go through that at school sounds fucking horrible.
The thing is, I feel for you because like you didn't know until you was like 21, 22.
Because I jumped into relationships with men.
But that's the thing, like I feel blessed that I came out as young as I did, because I've always said this to myself, like if I came out when I was like 17, 18, 19, or I figured myself out then, I feel like even to this day I still wouldn't have come out.
Do you know?
I'm so glad that I came out when I did, 13, 14, because at that time it's kind of like, I'm young, if I get kicked out, then at the time it was just kind of like I was mentally prepared to get kicked out. Whereas like if I got kicked out when I was like 16, 17, 18, I feel like, I wouldn't have, like, for example, the care system to rely on.
Yeah.
Like I would have been thrown into like, I don't know, emergency accommodation or something. And it would have been like a very different ride to what I experienced. But obviously,
But I'm lucky in that I never ever, like, I'd never had to worry that my mum wouldn't accept me.
I don't know why I worried, to be fair, because
I knew she would be okay with it.
Yeah, like my mum had never said any comment like you said, like your dad did with Waterloo Road kind of thing. Like she never like made any comment like that in any TV program. But I do remember one comment she made, and it was about gender. Bear in mind, this was like 2016, 2017. It was like just after I come out, maybe like a month or two after. She said, I have absolutely no issue with you being gay and whatever, but just remember I will always have 2 sons and 1 daughter.
Oh.
And I was like at the time I didn't understand what she meant, because like I didn't have the knowledge of like being trans or being like non-binary or whatever. Like I just didn't know anything, like any terminology, let's say.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that, or
What about gender?
Yeah.
Or do you want to talk about your gender identity?
Yeah. So I didn't know for a while. So once I came out and I was with my ex-girlfriend, I didn't really know if I really fit into being a woman. So I went by she, they pronouns for a while. And then after a while of that, I realised that I am a woman and I'm happy being a woman. I'm very lucky in that. I know a lot of people don't get that privilege.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much my journey. It's up to you if you want to talk about yours.
I don't know. Mine is like, it seems very complicated, because like I know that I am a male, right? I am a cis male, but in me somewhere there is something else, and I can't quite, and I don't think I ever will. I like quite grasp exactly what that something else is, because like I will always present male, and I will always come across as a male, and I'll always have that masculine side to me. So for example, if I ever like figured out that I was actually like a trans woman, I would always keep that to myself, because I would always feel like I would never, ever, 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 ever present female. And I'd never like, for example, like my feminine side sometimes comes out, but it's never like fully, it's never like fully there kind of thing. Like for example, when we went to Pride, I wore heels, for example. Yeah, that's all fun and games, but that's because I was like presenting myself as like a gay man wearing heels. I wasn't presenting myself as like, I don't know, like for example, like a trans woman or something like that. But I know that's not what it is. Like, I know I will always be a male, but I just feel like there is something else to it, and I just don't know what that is yet. And I don't think I will ever figure that out. So, for now, I guess I go by. Well, I will always suggest people use he, him with me because I never want to complicate things with anyone, because I know if I say, oh yeah, I go by he, they, then like a lot of people will be like, well, how'd you go by two? How'd you, blah, blah, blah.
But no,
So,
that shouldn't complicate things for anyone. It's how you feel. It's all about you. It shouldn't matter if it's complicated for other people. They just need to adapt.
yeah, but it's like I don't want that kind of like issue with anyone. And I don't want to feel like I'm constantly explaining myself either. Like, so saying that I'm like he, they, it's just like it's like a thing of like, because I don't mind being called he, him, like at all. Like I have no problem with like them pronouns, but then I've never really had anyone, say like they, them with my pronouns to me. And like to me, it just doesn't matter what my pronouns are, because I know that will never compensate for the way I'm feeling.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like that just feels like an add-on to how I'm feeling, like kind of like the title of being gay. To me, it's just kind of like, well, that's just the title of what I am, kind of thing. Like it doesn't like bother me what the pronouns are to me, because, well, firstly, I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah. So can I ask, when you use he, they pronouns, how would that look like to someone that's addressing you?
To someone that's addressing me, I will like I'm happy to go by either, but to anyone that's addressing me, I will always just kind of like, if they ask, I will always just kind of just say he, him.
No, but like if I wanted to use he, they, when would I use he and when would I use they? Just for like, I'm just wanting to know.
Well, to me, it's more like saying, my pronouns are he, they, for example.
Yeah.
That's not like, it wouldn't bother me at all what you would call me, whether it's he or whether it's they. It's more of a, I'd say it's more of a title. So more of a thing of like, saying, this is who I am. I just don't care what you use pronouns wise, but it's more like for me, it's more of a thing. I don't know how to explain it, but it's more of a thing of me explaining to people, kind of more like hinting, I guess, towards me feeling like there's something else to me.
So you're not upset by the fact that I don't address you by they?
No, I honestly do not. Like, it doesn't faze me at all, but I know a lot of other people's journeys are different. So
I would always ask.
Yeah, if someone else goes by he, they, for example, like they might want you to maybe sometimes they feel more masculine, maybe sometimes they feel more like what's like a neutral kind of term for masculine or feminine?
A non-binary?
Is there like
It's very fluid though, gender. Because some days even I feel more masculine than other days. Like, for example, when we were in Manchester, the first night I felt like, well, obviously I was how I was, but the second night I felt a lot more feminine.
Yeah.
Than I did the first night. It's very fluid for everyone, so I think you're right. I need to just ask.
But I also think it's a thing of like, with the way I feel, I think it's because of this whole gender norm. It's like, a man can't wear a skirt and a woman can't, like, I don't know, what do men usually wear, like, typically?
But it's not even that. Like, men were wearing skirts in the 90s. This is what goes back to what Mum was saying. Like, she used to go out with men who would wear skirts but who were straight.
Well, that's the
That's just
thing of
who
it.
they
Like,
were.
it's. I think it's because I didn't really grow up with like a figure on TV of that I could be like, oh my god, you know, that I feel like I identify with that person. Whereas, like, obviously, you see straight people on the TV all the time.
Oh yeah.
But like, I never really saw like a gay person on TV either, unless it was like Rylan on X Factor.
Yeah, but even
Or
then, you were a teenager then, no?
exactly, yeah. There
Yeah.
was never like no a
'Cause
big celebrity, let's say.
I'm pretty sure Rylan was the first gay celebrity that I'd seen. If
Yeah,
not, if it, I don't know who came first, Joe McElderry or Rylan, but Joe McElderry wasn't out when he was on X Factor.
I don't know. I just
No,
remember.
I just know him because he's from Shields. But I know he's gay now, but I'm pretty sure he wasn't when he first went in X Factor. So I'm pretty sure it was Rylan was the first gay celebrity that I'd like got to know,
And
which
at the
is
time as
crazy.
well, at that same time, there was also Sam Smith.
Yes, and that is crazy because when I was first introduced to gay celebrities, I was what, 17, 18?
Yeah,
That's mad.
and that's just like, I don't know. I just feel like I would have figured myself out a little bit sooner if there was that figure on TV. Which, I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at what I watch now, it's just RuPaul's Drag Race and whatever. So
Yeah.
there is that figure in front of me.
Yeah, but
About 20 of them.
you needed it more then than you do now.
When you're figuring yourself out, it's more like I feel like it just would have been easier if I saw, especially with being gay, but with this, I guess I don't know, I feel like I'm not entitled to say this gender journey because it's not really like I'm not really changing anything. It's just like,
No, but it's still your journey. You're figuring out who you are. It's your journey. That's perfectly fine to call it a journey because it's yours.
I just don't feel like entitled to use the word gender when it comes to that though, because I just don't know
Of course
whether.
it is. Like,
But I don't know whether it's because of like it's a thing of like masculine or feminine, or whether it's a thing of like, whether it is a thing of like gender. Like, I don't know whether it's like whether I just feel constantly neutral or whether I constantly feel like I'm switching between neutral, masculine, feminine.
But that's the thing. That's the journey, Callum. Like, it's still a journey.
I guess, but
You're
it's going to
still
be a
figuring
long journey.
and I'm here for the ride, baby.
It's going to be a bumpy ride, I can tell you that now.
Just circling back to when you were saying like there was no like gay people in media when you were younger.
Yeah.
I feel like lesbians are much less represented. For me, anyway, from what I've seen.
Well, like nowadays or like back in the day?
When I was younger, yeah. Like when I was first figuring out, even like just before lockdown, when I was first like kind of figuring out who I was, there was the only TV show I can think of was I think it's called Feel Good with what's her name? It's basically about a comedian and a Canadian comedian and a British woman that get together. I'm sure it's called Feel Good. But that's the only thing I've really seen that's about a lesbian relationship.
I guess it kind of depends on what you watch as well when you was younger.
That's the thing. You don't know what to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I can't just search a lesbian. I just want to see it in normal TV, normal popular culture.
Well,
I
if you
don't want to
know, like for example, EastEnders. In EastEnders back in the day, Ben Mitchell wasn't gay, but like if I tuned into it now, I'm 90% sure he is now in the
I
series.
think he is, yeah.
Yeah. Whereas if that was, oh no, to be fair though, when I was younger, he would have been my age, so that would have been like a bit weird.
But even still, like but it's not just him. Like there was no representation.
Yeah.
At that time, like things have changed so much in the last 10 years. Like from when I left school to now, so much has changed, and people are a lot more accepting, and there is a lot more representation for lesbians and gay people and
Yeah.
everyone else in mainstream media. It's
And that's
just
why I never understand why people say the things like, oh, there was never none of this like non-binary back in my day, or none of this
of
transgender back
course
in the
there
day. But
was.
that's because it wasn't really accepted
Yeah,
back
of
then.
course there was.
And
There was
also, if you think of
so
it,
many lesbians.
the population is growing more and more, so there's going to be more of these minority groups.
It's the thing as well, like you hear so often of people that have been married for like 30 years and then come out as gay. It's because
Yeah,
it wasn't accepted, because they didn't feel like they could be who they were. Like there was no representation. It was hated. That's why there was no gay people, because they hid it, because you wouldn't accept it.
yeah,
But now everyone accepts. Well, I say everyone. A lot of
everyone.
people accept it because we're just people. I mean,
And you know what?
there's well,
I feel like that might be the perfect place to end it because we are pushing in time.
yeah, okay,
We
okay.
are going over, I think, nearly an hour plus, the ad breaks for the radio.
Oh Jesus, okay.
Maybe in the future we might have to make a part two of. I mean, we have a lot to say about it, obviously.
Yeah,
Maybe we
maybe
might have to make a part two on
we'll
our
see.
little experiences.
We'll see. I've enjoyed this. It's gone by very fast.
Yeah, I was going to say it's gone by very, very fast.
Yeah.
So, what do you think we're going to be talking about in episode 3?
I feel like we should do something more lighthearted. So maybe like Eurovision or traveling, maybe.
Oh yeah, that's another one. Traveling.
Yeah.
Or we could do. Yeah, we'll do something like that. Something
We'll
a little bit
think about.
more.
We'll let you know.
Yeah. Well, you'll find out on episode 3 when you tune in.
Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been Outcasted with Callum and Jodie.
And I'm Callum, and you are.
Jodie.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Sorry, I don't know who you are. I just know that I've got a wife, and I don't know whether her name's Jodie or not.
I've got a husband. What are you on about?
Wow. You're meant to love me until death do us apart.
I do.
Oh.
What? You are an asshole. Anyway, goodbye.
Bye. Oh, God.
Bye.